My name is Geert Wilders. I'm a member of parliament of the lower house of the Netherlands, and I'm the leader of the Party for Freedom, which is a new political party which has now 6% of the seats, but fortunately in the polls we have more than 10% today. And we are fighting for freedom, like our party name explains, which means that we fight against the Islamization of our society. We are losing gradually but steadily our entire freedom. And this is why I stand up, and my party stands up and speak out against it and in favor of our own identity, our own culture, and the freedom of everybody living in our Western societies. To be honest, most of the ruling political, but unfortunately also intellectual elite, and also the media in our Western societies are very liberal, are very leftish themselves. Their answer always is that if you speak out the truth, if you are not politically correct, if you just say not only what's on your mind, but what a lot of people feel and see every day when they walk through the streets of Amsterdam or Rotterdam or Brussels or Paris, is that they are losing their country to an ideology of hatred, an ideology of violence, which Islam really is and really stands for. The only answer for them always is, and probably always will be, that people who say that are xenophobes or are racist. But of course we are not. I'm not a racist, I don't hate people, and all those millions of people who would vote for my party today and for other parties in Europe are not racist either. We just say that Islam is not like another leaf on the tree of religions. Islam cannot be compared with Judaism or Christianity. In fact, Islam is a totalitarian ideology with no room for anything but Islam, so it should be compared more with other ideologies like fascism or communism that are exactly the same. And if you speak like that, a lot of people sense that you are right and a lot of people support you, but of course it's not politically correct, and the majority of the people who are in politics or are in the media or are intellectuals, it's far more easier than to go into a debate with you about really what you mean and what you stand for, and label you as some kind of idiot. But we are not, and we are not impressed at all by all those crazy remarks. It will only give us an incentive to fight even stronger against the influx of this totalitarian fascist ideology that Islam really is. Well, it changed our country totally. If it comes to our culture, our values, the freedom of speech, but not only the freedom of speech, how to treat women, how to treat homosexuals, whatever you can imagine, the violence. If you look at, unfortunately, the statistics in the Netherlands when it comes to dependency on social screens, or when it comes to violence, or when it comes to the population in our prisons, you will see that unfortunately Muslims are overrepresented in all those statistics. So unfortunately the Netherlands, and not only the Netherlands, you see the same in the United Kingdom, in Belgium, in Germany, in Denmark, in France, in Italy, in almost every place in Europe. Our society is changing. And it's not like in the past, when of course you remember we had two more Islamic invasions in Europe in the past. One was being fought back in Poitiers, the other in Vienna. But today, unfortunately, it's not a conventional war. It's a war that's being fought through demographics and through mass immigration from Africa and other Asian and Middle Eastern, Arab and Islamic countries to our countries. And once again, the political elite, being politically correct, is looking in the other direction and not doing anything at all. I wrote an article in one of the major Dutch newspapers why to ban the Quran in the Netherlands, because I thought, hey, we have outlawed in the Netherlands Mein Kampf. The Quran is of the same nature, the book of a totalitarian ideology. It's not a book of love or whatsoever, it's a book full of hate. And if you would tear out all the violent parts of the Quran, you will be left with a book as thin as the Donald Duck. This is what I said in the Dutch Parliament. People didn't like it, but it's true. And then after that I initiated a debate. It it was broadcasted in the Netherlands. A lot of people spoke about it, about the Islamization of the Netherlands, with the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice and Foreign Affairs, and half of the cabinet was present. And then I thought, well, okay, not everybody's reading the press, not everybody's reading the morning papers, not everybody is looking at the TV debates and our C-SPAN when it comes to parliamentary debates. What can I do to bring this message to the normal grassroots level, to the normal people in the Netherlands who will look TV or look on the internet? So this is when, after the article and after the tough debate in the Dutch parliament, I thought, well, I'm going to make a short film. And I thought about the name, and I thought fitna, which means ordeal, which is also an Islamic, even a Quranic word, would be the right title. And I started to work on it. It took me a few months, but it had, I believe, quite some success. One day in November, 1.5 years ago, it was published in the newspaper that I was working on a short film, which would be very tough on Islam. I never spoke out before, maybe 1 or 2 months before March, when the movie came on the internet. And of course, the aim of the people, the government and others, was not only to warn people, but to put me once again and my party in a very negative, almost xenophobe corner. And our government already gave in a lot, and this exactly proved my point, through the jihadi, through the Islamists. They said that, Wilders, you should not make that movie. Even the Dutch government investigated legally if it was possible to forbid it before. Muslim organizations took me to court to outlaw it before, and they are still taking me to court today. The Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs went to countries like Syria, to Lebanon, and said that, hey, there is going to be a movie of one member of parliament, and we are not, while he didn't even know 1 second of the content of the movie, he said, well, it will be a very bad movie, and we will, it's not a movie, it's not representing the point of view of the Dutch government. So they were already giving in, exactly proving my point, how big the dimitude is. And I also wrote an article one day in the Dutch press saying that, what if I would have said that I was planning to make a movie about the Bible? What would have happened? Would there be mass demonstrations? Would our embassy be endangered? Would there be the burning of puppets representing me, or the Dutch flag? Would the Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs warn all the embassies of the Netherlands abroad that things would happen? Would there be demonstrations in Afghanistan against the Dutch troops because of fitna? Of course the answer is no. That all would not have happened if I would have said that I was going to make a movie about Christianity, which of course I'm not doing, because Christianity, fortunately, is not Islam. So they did it because they are weak, because they are cowards. The Dutch government consists of a lot of cowards, unfortunately, like many of the governments in Europe, looking in the other directions and giving in, giving up, giving in, surrendering to an ideology that at the end of the day will cost us the freedom of the citizens of the Netherlands. And this is something that, of course, is totally unacceptable. A lot of people saw it, even 48 hours after I put it on the internet, on LiveLeak, an American YouTube, an English YouTube, excuse me. They also put it off the internet because they got threats after one day, then they put it back on. And after 2 days, more than 8 million people saw it. I don't know what the numbers are, but they are tens of millions of people around the world saw fitna. And I get reactions from all over the world, from the United States through Australia to Canada, and even people, even Muslims in Iran and Saudi Arabia, write me through their anonymous Hotmail address that they thank me for making fitna. Of course, unfortunately, there are also many negative reactions and many threats from throughout the world. But a lot of people saw it, and if I even achieved that some of those millions of people who saw it get some idea about the true nature of Islam, I chose to use some real existing surahs, verses from certain surahs, and use not actors, but I made the Muslims themselves the actors of my movie. Everything that is in fitna was reality and was based on the surahs and the verses that I showed. And if I at least make some people in the Western societies, and I think I did, aware of the threat that we are facing today, by the Islamization of our societies. And if I showed part of the Arab and Islamic community, not only in the Netherlands but also in the Arab world, that we are not all dhimmis, that we are not all weak, that we are not all cowards, that some of us will stand up and fight them, whatever the consequences is, because one thing is the most dear to us, and this is once again our freedom. And if I have achieved that, I think I'm proud to have made that move. It's not only multiculturalism. I always say the biggest disease we face in Europe today is cultural relativism. Is that people believe, and this was the policy of the Dutch government until today, that all cultures are equal, and all cultures are not equal. It's like the brave psychiatrist who is residing in the United States now, Wafa Sultan, is saying, it's not a normal culture. It's not a normal thing that we are talking about when we talk about the Islam. It's like she says, it's rationality versus barbarity, and this is what we are facing today. And what did the Dutch government do? They did nothing. They invited a lot of people coming to our countries to work in the 60s. They invented this cultural relativism and this multicultural society, and they didn't act when they had to act, when people were not eager and not willing to learn the Dutch language, when people were, unlike the United States, we have an enormous welfare state. People who are on the dole and have a social benefit will get the same, sometimes even more money than people who are going to work on a very high minimum wage that we even have. And when they committed a crime, nothing was done, was being excused, that perhaps it was because they were from another culture and we should be have more respect and be more understanding. And once again, the mass immigration continued all the time. We have here a lot of people from Morocco or Turkey who have had were in Holland for 15 years and who got 9 different spouses over from Morocco. They come here, they divorce, they have their own green card after a few years, and they get another partner over. And the same goes with this partner, who also get another partner over. So being fooled in every possible way when it comes to crime, when it comes to culture, when it comes to how to treat women whatsoever. And the Dutch government never acted. They never said enough is enough. The Netherlands is not an Islamic culture. If you want to be here, you have to adhere to our values, to our rules, to our constitution, and to nothing else. This is what they didn't do, and there are 500 examples how they messed up our society today. And that's why I say that it's 1 minute to 12 in the Netherlands and the West today. Unlike the United States, we have a lot of Muslims in the Netherlands and in other countries today. And if we don't act, once again, we will lose our country. Well, don't underestimate it. I held a speech in New York a few months ago, and I said, well, I hope that the United States doesn't wake up one day and say, who the hell lost Europe? Who lost Europe in the process? Because the culture that is, once again, based on Christianity and Judaism and humanism, the foundations of Jerusalem and Rome are gone and are Islamic, and it's lost. So be sure what is happening in Europe, and don't think what we thought a long time after 9/11, that what happens in the one continent cannot happen and will not happen in the other continent. What is happening in Europe today, if you have lost Europe, if you don't wake up as American politicians, if you don't help your European friends who do stand up against the Islamization, it will come to the America and the United States as well, even more than it is today. So be stronger against the Islamization, fight against the Sharia, fight against the jihad, fight against the immigration from certain countries, fight against the founding of groups and institutions, Islamic institutions in your countries. It is all happening today, and even though I have a lot of respect for my American friends, I don't see the sense of urgency within the American political elite today either, with of course 1 or 2 exceptions. So wake up, make sure you don't lose Europe, and make sure you don't lose the identity of your own country where you are rightfully so proud of today. So wake up, go to the people who represent you, write articles, talk to people about it, look at movies, and make some kind of organizations at the grassroots level, and press the politicians in any possible way that you don't want your country to change, that you don't want your country to become more Islamic. And don't think that if you have only a few percent of inhabitants that it will not happen to you. Know about the concept of taqiyya, which means that Muslims can lie, are allowed to lie, sometimes according to the Quran, even ordered to lie. And when they are getting stronger, when the Islamic culture is being more dominant, it doesn't even have to be a majority of your country. Your country will change. You will use your freedom. You will lose your freedom of speech. You will lose everything. And look what is happening at Europe today. And if I can help and other friends of mine in Europe to show the American people what is happening today in the streets of Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Berlin, Paris, whatsoever, face what we are facing today and make sure it will never happen to your own country. And press your politicians not to deal with other issues if they don't deal with this issue as well.